In this video, we head to Coronado, California, a resort city located across the San Diego Bay from downtown San Diego. Coronado was named by the Spanish explorer Sebastian Vizcaíno in 1602 and has a ton of history. Easily the most famous site on the peninsula is the Hotel del Coronado, which was built in 1888 and has hosted movie stars, presidents, and royalty. It has also been featured in numerous films and television programs. But the area that we're going to look at today is actually a few hundred feet to the north, the Coronado Dunes. Right now I'm on the beach in Coronado at what is known as the Coronado Dunes. You'll often see people exercising here or maybe picnicking, but a lot of people don't realize there's actually more to these dunes than meets the eye. In 1988, on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, there was a large storm and a ton of kelp got washed up onto the Coronado Beach. And a City of Coronado maintenance worker, Armando Moreno, decided to move the kelp and to bury it under the sand and plant ice plant on the top of it. Over the next 2 years, he continued to do this, making these mounds out here on the Coronado Beach. What people did not realize, because it is completely unnoticeable from the ground, is that he was actually putting a message here in the sand. And it wasn't until years later, when Google Maps came out, that most people knew what was going on here. Naval pilots flying into North Island were able to see the message written here in the sand, but to everybody else, they were just dunes. It wasn't until years later that anybody noticed what was going on. Here we are standing at the highest vantage point in the dunes, and as you can see from here, nothing out of the ordinary, just a bunch of mounds on the beach. But it's once you get in the air where you notice what's going on. From the air, or by looking at a Google satellite view, you can see the words Coronado written in the sand. And you can also see just how massive this truly is. Right now we're in the middle of the R, and I did want to point out that along with the kelp, apparently here in the R, there are the remains of a whale that washed up on the beach as well. So it's not just kelp under these mounds. There's also apparently at least one whale. I also want to point out that if you're visiting San Diego, the Coronado Dunes is actually a pretty good beach spot as well. There are some great views of Point Loma off in the distance. You'll see a lot of ships out at the sea. And while it gets a little crowded over at the Hotel del Coronado to the south, and the beach gets definitely a lot more crowded to the north, this area right in front of the dunes usually is a lot less crowded than the other areas for some reason. I'm not sure why, but it's a pretty good area for visiting the beach, and a lot of people actually picnic on top of the dunes as well. You can see some people camped out over there. But yeah, this is a really good beach spot, and if you're coming to San Diego, or if you live in San Diego and didn't know about this spot, it is a good beach spot. So that's pretty much the Coronado Dunes, a pretty unique and interesting place here in Coronado, and Mr. Moreno deserves a lot of credit for his creativity in creating this, for sure. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and we'll see you next week.